Thanks. Wow, welcome everybody. You guys have just really surprised me. Really surprised me. I thought maybe let's get out a couple of extra chairs. I've heard from a few people I haven't heard from in a while, but I am really I'm so honored. Thank you so much for being here this morning. When I was in the shower this morning, I finally got a visitation from my master teacher, Marion. And Marion was the teacher who saw me, recognized, there's a chair right here, recognized me as being like her. And this morning in the shower, she said, you can always hold them if you promise them cake later. So every Sunday, we had cake afterwards. And she channeled a message every week. It was a 10-year relationship, and I never felt more seen by anybody than Marion. I mean, there have been some moments. I just want to give you a little bit of background. For those I haven't met, I'm Susan Stone. I am so very grateful to be the founder of the arts and to be able to build this community space for you. Not just through art classes and Reiki classes, but this program, the Sacred Sundays, has been growing and growing and growing. We had 30 people in here last week for Sound Bath. And it's just showing me that the spiritual awakening that is happening all over our world is really active in our community, and that people are wanting more substance. They want more clarity. They are seeking their own truth. They are not looking to follow anyone anymore. They're looking to be their own leader in their life. And I have a feeling that's what today's going to be about. So, a little background on me. I was adopted into the Cherokee Nation when I was 50 years old. 1 year later, I was initiated as a shaman, and I had studied with all American shamans. I studied specifically with Shelley Gillum for 7 years. She was my contact, my weekly sessions, and the woman who really expanded my understanding of not just the world, but the cosmos. Grandfather Yellow Horseman was the Cherokee Creek Choctaw elder that brought me into the nation. He met me at a drum workshop and a crystal healing workshop, and he had a vision about me. The crystal workshop was a 2-day event. On our second morning, he came in to the 9 women that had been there the day before, and he said, I haven't slept all night. I have been up listening to Spirit show me the life of one of you women. And we were like sitting on the edge of our seat. He told the best stories. Oh my gosh. And then he looked at me and he said, is it okay if I tell them? And I looked behind me. Somebody was sitting behind me, but there wasn't anybody sitting behind me. And he said, Spirit showed me who you were going to grow to be. And he said, you are going to be a powerful healer. And I said, you got the wrong girl. I'm a landscape designer. I'm a gardener. I play with plants and animals. And you got the wrong girl. He said, you'll grow into this as you start to realize who you really are. So grandfather was another great teacher, and he is the one who introduced me to Sweat Lodge. And I've been a lodge leader for 9 seasons, and this week I'm going to be looking at a new site. So Sweat Lodge will be coming back to the Low Country, even though it'll be in Somerville. It's still part of the Low Country. It's not far. So in 2010, I got struck by lightning inside of a car. My best friend was driving. We hit the most ferocious storm I've ever seen in South Carolina. I've never seen ball lightning before or since. And as we hit this storm, the lights went out and we couldn't even see the front of the car. Sarah was looking out her driver's window to make sure we were still on the road. When she found a place to pull off, she put the car in park. Everything around us went hot white, royal blue, and then this red ball of fire came across this field, through the window, and hit me in the shoulder. It went out both of my eyes. It knocked the phone out of my hand and knocked me into Sarah. The scientist in the back seat said it looked like neurons coming out of my face. Sarah said it looked like sparks. So 5 eye surgeries later, I was going blind from all the scar tissue that had been left by most of the surgeries. I didn't have to sell the store, but I did sell Zen-Den. That's when Robin walked in, offered to buy the store that wasn't for sale. And I just kind of couldn't stop laughing, so I sold it to her. So 5 days later, I have this space. And 5 months later, the Arts was born. My dear friend Ann came and helped me clean up this place and renovate it and moved her studio in across and has been my joy champion ever since. So channeling is something that all of us do in some degree or another. Some of us know when our children have been injured before the phone rings. Some of us feel like we get messages from our angels and our guides. Some of us have no idea what inspiration, where it came from, that just came out of our own mouth as we're comforting or counseling another person. Something will come out of your mouth that you've heard for the very first time, and it's incredible when those things happen. Marion worked with the Angels of Clarity, Truth, Love, and Understanding. And a year after I was initiated as a shaman, she ordained me as a minister. And I was adopted by these angels. I work with them each and every day. And so when I channel, I will often refer to they. Honestly, I don't know who I'm referring to. I just know that there is a team that keeps me on my path, that has informed me, inspired me to write books. I said a prayer in 2003 and asked the universe what I could do to help. And I asked God to give me a job. And this started coming out of my hands 3 weeks later. I never had an idea for this book. The entire story flowed out of my hands as I watched a movie screen. The last 50 pages were written first. It was the message to humanity. And it rocked my world, man. I mean, it took 6 years to write this book because I didn't know this stuff. I didn't know about chemtrails. I didn't know about fluoride. I didn't know about the volition experiments that happened in the 30s when we were throwing light bulbs with pathogens into the subways and seeing how fast it took people to get to the emergency room. I didn't know that we lived in the world that we live in, and it took me more than a minute to adjust and to accept that I lived in a world I didn't know I lived in. And from that point on, I started asking a lot of questions. I needed to understand the world I lived in because I have to navigate this as a human. But I've always had this thought since I was a child. I can remember looking into the mirror and knowing that Susan was not my true identity and that Earth was not my home. I know I looked like my people, but I knew they were not my people. I felt like someone dropped me off and forgot to pick me up. And I have been homesick my entire life. When I did the research for my second book, I started watching near-death experience videos for part of the research. And after about 50 or so videos, I sat back and wondered for the first time, why do I know what they're about to say? How can I know this landscape that they all describe? Everybody around the world is describing the same sequence of events. And how do I know this? So I called my mom and I asked her if I died as a child. And she said, honestly, I don't know. We found you unconscious under a tree you fell out of, but you were breathing when we got there. We plunged you into a tub of ice when you had 106 fever with the measles, but we didn't notice if you stopped breathing. She said, I just don't know. But I have known things kind of my whole life that other people didn't teach me. I didn't come from educated or cultural people. They were into game shows and the news and Lawrence Welk. They just weren't cultural. It wasn't a very broad, none of them were highly educated. And so I didn't have broad knowledge as a kid, except in my own way. So I guess this kind of started a long time ago, and maybe I was set up for this all along. But I know that each one of you are capable of what I'm about to do. Each one of us are capable of setting their own personal agenda aside and allowing spirit or something greater than themselves to flow through them so that they can share messages of encouragement with others. I am not a trance channel. meaning that I don't sound different, I don't look different, I don't go through any kind of process to prepare myself. I can be in a healing session, or I can just be in conversation with somebody on the street when suddenly something comes out of my mouth I have never heard before and I have never thought about. So I know that didn't come out of Susan's brain. Something kind of, it feels like something bubbles up out of my heart and comes through my mouth. And I know it when I feel it, and I know it when I look at the face of the person I'm talking to, and I can see that what I just said impacted them deeply. So as much as I, Susan Stone, would love to take credit for that. My egos, all of our egos want to shine in that way. But I know better than that. I know I'm a conduit. I'm a conduit for Reiki energy. I'm a conduit for these messages. And I can feel them coming in. It wasn't until I posted this announcement as a video on Facebook on Wednesday that I even got the title or the topic of what I was going to talk about today. So I started relaxing after that, because once I kind of have a direction, I'm not afraid to go where they take me. I just need a starting point. And so what I heard about 10 minutes after I posted was your story. I want to wave at all the faces I see in front of me. Okay. Is your story getting in the way of your own happiness? Is your personal story holding you back? Is your personal story propelling you to the future, forward? Or are you feeling stuck? Have you told yourself you have a disease? Or has someone else told you that and you have owned it by saying, I have, or I am? Are you struggling in any portion of your life because your story has you limited in this belief? Is your experience being limited by what you think you can and cannot do? Think in your mind right now, the last time you said, I can't do this. I can't exercise. I can't lose weight. I can't get ahead. I am broke. I am sick. I am, is informing your next moment. What is it about our stories that traps us in a belief system that isn't even true? I was the dyslexic ADHD child in my family. And in 1958, they didn't have a word for that. So, I got labeled. Being left-handed and not even being allowed to be left-handed. They also said, you're just clumsy. I have been injured so many times because I believed that was true. I felt inadequate almost my entire life because I thought I was stupid. I didn't even know until my daughter was diagnosed with ADHD or with dyslexia that that's what it was called, that's what it was. I didn't know that my brain was turning things around. And I set up, well, we all do. We all have this setup that we, as souls, we decide who our cast of characters is going to be. We call them our family, our co-workers, and our friends. But when we're at that point deciding, we're handing out our script to others, and they're handing out the script to us, and we are agreeing to play a particular role. Spirit wants to give you permission right now to rewrite your story. What you started out as is not a death sentence. It is also not set in stone. You get to renegotiate. When you become aware that you are a sovereign soul and that you can choose your experience. You get to literally choose that experience. If you're tired of not having enough money in the bank, then stop saying you're broke and stop saying you can't afford to do something. Marion, every time she'd hear someone say that, she'd say, you can't afford not to. And she got me out of my not enoughness that I was raised with, because I was raised poor. There wasn't enough time, money, food, love, patience. There was not enough of anything in our house. But she taught me that that was just an idea I had adopted, and it wasn't true. I could have so much courage, I have enough to share with other people. I could have enough patience, so much patience, that I could spread it out. I could have so much love that it would never run out. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that I got to fill my own tank. I kind of thought that I got what I got and I was just going to have to deal with it until I died. And then I discovered this other world where that was not true. So your story is being continually written by you. What's your next chapter look like? Is it going to look like the last chapter? If you are the happiest person you have ever met, there is nothing you need to change. But if there's any sticking points, if there's anything you would like to do to feel more comfortable in your body or on this planet or at your job or in your relationships, then you have work to do. You are not stuck in a marriage. You are not stuck at your job. Nobody pinned you down and made you drive that car today. You're not stuck with the car you have. You're not stuck with the house you live in. You're not stuck with the clothes you wear. You're not stuck with your hairstyle. You're not stuck with your body shape. You're not stuck anywhere. You have the option of transforming every single part of your life. And every morning before I wake up, or before my feet hit the ground, actually when I wake up, I hear, shit, she's awake. But, because they're going to be busy all day. I'm a handful, just saying. Every morning after I remind the world that I am the happiest person I've ever met, and I thank them for rearranging all the chess pieces to bring me joy, I've added one more thing before I hit the floor. I write the next line in my book, and the next line in my story. And she lives happily ever after to the end of her days. Ooh, that just sent a chill down my arms. Ooh. That is my mantra. And she lives happily to the end of her days. We are all, if we are in this room, all of us are waking up. To what? Hopefully your own potential and not somebody else's truth. As you wake up, you get to decide what is meant for you and what is not meant for you. To quote my beautiful Anne, if it feels yucky, it is yucky. That's a great indication about whether you want to move towards or away from something. How does it feel? You got your built-in bullshit meter right here. Everything that we feel, we're feeling it through here. Trust someone who says, I trust my gut, because it's more than just a feeling. This is where we project ourselves into the world. It's where the world meets us. We can almost feel our way through the day and tell what it is that we feel like doing and what we don't feel like doing. Now that doesn't mean I get to do everything I want all day long every day. I don't like cleaning bathrooms. I do that anyway. I do like clean bathrooms, which is why I clean. The action of cleaning, not so much. But it's okay if we do some things just to keep our engine going, to keep our, we got to get the tires rotated, we got to get the oil changed. We need to do some maintenance on the meat suit. So there's things that we do kind of have to do. But stop engaging in things that you really don't want to go to, that you really don't feel like, places where you really don't feel like you belong anymore. And to resist the expectations other people have for us to show up when we really don't belong there anymore. As a recovering alcoholic, there are places I do not belong anymore. I don't have any problem being around other people who drink at all. But it's not the same thing. It's not fun for me anymore. Don't enjoy watching people overserve themselves. I don't enjoy fights that break out. I just don't have any need to be there anymore. It's okay if I change. And that's what the permission I'm asking you to give yourselves is it's okay if you change. What you do ultimately for yourself is best for everyone around you. They may resist it tooth and nail. They may get so pissed when you try to quit your job, or you try to quit your church, or you try to quit a group, or you just decide that that's not for you anymore. Don't expect everybody else to be happy for you. But they will notice you're standing in your own power. You are taking steps to make yourself happy, and you're giving them permission to do the same thing. They may think we're selfish at first. I call it being centered on self instead of being self-centered. Because if I am not adjusting for my own comfort, then I am not serving my higher self. I'm not serving myself. If I allow myself to be drugged over and over and over into situations I have no business in, that I no longer want to do. The next chapter of your life can change everything for you. Absolutely everything. You are the director of your very own show. And nobody has any power over you that you have not handed them. So if you're not feeling particularly in your own power, take a look at all the people you've handed it to and ask for it back. Actually, you don't even have to ask. You just simply reel it back in. You do not need their permission. But they are going to wonder what changed, because they're going to feel you detaching from them. The minute you cut a cord, the minute you start reeling in your own energy, your phone is going to ring and they're going to try to pull you back in. I don't know how they know, but every time I've cut a cord, I get a text or a phone call from that person I'm trying to separate myself from. They feel that you've cut off the umbilical cord, and they can tell that you pulled your energy away, and they can wait, where'd it go? Where'd that go? I need that energy. You get to choose who you offer it to, for how long, and then you get to pull it back. I do not recommend cutting cords with our children. No matter how difficult they are, they will always need us, and they will always need to feel our love. And that's just my personal feeling. I had to put some distance between myself and some family members. 400 miles worked really well. I do love my family, but I do love them better in Ohio. I had to separate myself from the family chaos, because as long as I was not healing, as long as I was involved in it, I was still the kid. I was still the problem. I was still the alcoholic. They were seeing me through this other lens, and I wasn't able to free myself from that. I couldn't even get my own name back until I moved to South Carolina. They shortened my name in elementary school, and they've been calling me Sue ever since. I hate it. I have nieces and nephews that call me Aunt Sue, and they can get away with it because I love them so much. But I had to move away from all of that so that I could get sober, so I could change my name, so that I could be my authentic self. It was a drastic change, but I felt like I was dying there. I was just not happy there. I couldn't get off the bar stool I was sitting on. Everybody I knew was there. I just didn't have any way of breaking out. I don't know how easy or how difficult any change will be for any of you. But I promise you that your happiness and your joy stands at the end of that chapter. Your freedom of choice, your freedom, being a free, sovereign soul, free to go in any direction that calls you. That's what awaits you. And I truly, truly hope that you can write this next chapter, even physically write this next chapter out for yourself. What is this next chapter going to look like? 2 months ago, I asked that question. And Yeshua showed up for me and stood me behind a big red velvet heavy stage curtain. I knew I was standing backstage in this vision. And this huge red curtain went up for me. And I was asking in my meditations and in my prayers, how can I be of greater service? And what does this next year look like for me? How can I show up fully for myself and for this community that I am surrounding myself with and building? And he puts me in this backstage and he said, I need you to step out in front of this curtain. And I know you guys have all heard me say gulp. And that I had to stop playing small. Now, I didn't think I was playing very small. I think I've done a lot of brave things. I've written 2 books. I've gotten the 3rd one started. I feel like I'm doing the deed, but they're telling me there's more. But they wouldn't tell me what that looked like. And he said, the first thing you're going to do is change your Sunday to channeling. And I didn't know I know what it meant. And I knew he was talking about me, but I didn't know what it was going to look like. So this particular Sunday could host other people who are channeling. It may be a video of somebody. It could be an audio of Marian. She assured me that I have plenty of weeks of her recordings, that I could always play one of her recordings. But I'm starting to get the feeling that they're going to do a lot more talking to me. And that they're the ones that have their finger on the pulse of our community. They're the ones that know what you guys need. And I am very, very happy and so honored to be in front of you today. I can't believe how many of you are here. I'm so impressed. But as a favor to yourself, if you don't write out the next chapter and your desires, at least write yourself a note that you will live happily for the rest of your days. And at least put that positive vibe out there. They who guide us know what makes us happy. We don't have to decide what that's going to be. We don't have to set up everything ourselves. The more we say prayers and then listen for the answers, the more we meditate, the more we can get still and quiet, the more we journal, the more time we devote to our growth, the more information we will get, the more inspiration we will get. We will be inspired to paint, to write, to help, to serve. There are so many opportunities for us just to be better human beings. And I'm watching Marian right now. Sorry, hang on a second. She was saying, surround yourself with angel light. Surround yourself with angels. Your personal guardian angel has nothing to do unless you give them an assignment. They will not leave your side. They have never left your side. They have been with you through every lifetime. you at least have one, if not more, angels that are assigned to you. They will help you find your car in the parking lot. They will help you find your keys. They will help you find your next job. They will help you find your own light. They will help you find the right doctor. They will help you find the right answer. Ask, and that door will open. Just try to open up your own channels. Be accepting, and don't be in fear. If you surround yourself with white light and you surround yourself with love, love will come back to you. You know? So, anyway, I think that's about all they have for me. Marion is saying it's time to eat cake. So we're going to take a break, get a cup of coffee, get some cake, get a cookie, get a tea. We'll form a little circle. We'll come back and talk. Thank you so much.